Welcome to the Hustling podcast. Hustling is a top marketplace for side gigs. And on today's episode, I'm super excited to speak with Lynette Perkins from AtomPay, co-founder and CEO of AtomPay, I should mention. And yeah, with that, Lynette, let's jump right in. What is AtomPay?
AtomPay is effectively built for side hustlers, similar to how Hustlewing is built for side hustlers, looking to accept payments in various ways. So if you've ever thought about, two people are trying to kind of pay each other, how Venmo me or Zelle me, accepting payments from each other can get quite complicated. And we're here is more of a storefront to help side hustlers. If you're a creator or a housekeeper, you can accept payments very easily, and form of payment is no longer a barrier to getting paid.
Yeah, I saw on the website, one of the things I love, what we can kind of talk about this later, is number one, I love the brand voice and the way that the website looks. I think it's fantastic. It was really easy to read, easy to use.
That's an attribution to the team. There was quite a team that worked on it for a long time. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, pass my thanks along to them, because you guys, I think, did a really great job with it. And I'm excited. One of the things I think is so cool is in the world of apps, it's like, in 2008, we're like, anything, like there's an app for that. I'm so cool to have things in an app store. And the last 5 years of my life, I've had so many VCs tell me, like, we need to build it into the app store. And I love that you guys don't have the friction of another download.
Yeah.
And so with that, can you give us the elevator pitch then? And however you want to do it, if you were pitching investors or if you were pitching,
Pitching all of the side hustlers here on
yes.
Hustlewing. Effectively, we're a really quick, fast, less than 5 minutes, less than 3 minutes. You can sign up with your email or your phone number. You get a text or a code, a magic link to log in, and immediately connect your PayPal or Stripe account or both and start listing out what it is that you're selling. And then immediately you can share out your link via whatever channels or to a specific person, and they can immediately go to pay you right away. That's it. And you can also actually customize what you want your background to look like and other aspects of what goes into store customization and those kind of things. But it's very quick. Yeah.
So last question I have before we move on to some more personalized stuff is
Yeah.
what kind of help is AtomPay looking for right now in terms of possible contract work or side gigs that we could talk to our hustlers about?
Yes. So we are a very, very lean team right now. We don't attribute and put enough work into where we started. So what you're seeing is almost this place where I'm not pumping as much money into the project, right? We're a bootstrap company, just like side hustlers are kind of bootstrapping their own business journeys. And we need a lot of help across multiple areas, from what is the product from a product standpoint? What can this product become, right? We've heard and we know that there are many, many freelancers out there getting started on their journey. And from a product standpoint, each one of us can have our own storefront effectively. So the Shopify for freelancers, right? So that's what we're trying to get towards. And we're looking for product help, right? Right. Designing what the product can evolve into while maintaining its simplicity, as well as, once we kind of have a little bit more around who those people are that will be our power users, then more design and injection of design of what that can look like. We do not require an app download, but we have an app, right? And we found that we have really strong conversion when it comes to in-app purchase. It's very quick. We do have people that pay a little bit extra, right? So how do we help design the best experience to bring people into AtomPay and to get the most out of it, right? So we want people, freelancers, side hustlers, just like Hustlewing, to really push and evolve what is within what they're capable of, and seizing the opportunity that they have to actually accept payments, get paid, right? And then follow up maybe, right? So there's just so many different avenues of, like, even creating repeat business with your customers. that maybe people are not thinking about. There's also education, right? So people oftentimes before they are starting their side hustle journey, they're like, how do I start? Right. So there are many different education touch points that can be simplified for the side hustle that really is just doing this on the side and doesn't have time to go into like creating a full scale business. Right. So, and then from a marketing standpoint, right, and sales standpoint, there are a lot of other opportunities that in terms of tackling market strategy, where and how we can find our customers better. We get these blips in traffic, right? And how do we harness that traffic and turn them into repeat users, right? So we're a startup is still iterating and trying to find kind of our footing, and there's a lot that can go into um, product design, marketing, sales, you name it, we need it.
I think a lot of it's so relevant just in terms of like how venture capital is going to be so challenging for the foreseeable future for a bit. And I think the hustle wing, the freelancer marketplace side of things is a really real thing as people come up with crafty ways to do commission based stuff or equity based projects. I think what you guys are doing is super relevant, and we've all had issues with scanning someone's barcode. I just moved and I bought a bunch of stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and
Yeah.
it's just such a hassle to make sure you're getting it right if you're not there in person. And it can be security wise, there's all kinds of stuff, even with Cash App. And so before we touch on some of the speeds and feeds, I do want to get an idea of how you got into AtomPay, because it's such a specific thing. And like, you strike me as such a seasoned product person. Like, that's my gut. I didn't stalk you on LinkedIn too much. I didn't go over crazy on the website. I just do a quick one over. And then I don't want to poison my mind and have all these leading questions. So
Yeah.
talk to us how you got here and what your background is.
My background is in engineering, computer science, then business. I'm business first, and then I happen to, pull product together and actual understand how to build it as well. So kind of at that wheel of product, business, and technology. Um, I came to AtomPay via Atom Complete. It was this gym software that we were developing end of 2019, beginning of 2020, just before COVID. Then that kind of bottomed out. Gyms kind of started shuttering. Um, and from that, there was a lot of user research that started to develop where it was becoming very difficult to sell to a gym and wanting to understand why, right? Why was that the case? The team did a lot of user research around uh, what are trainers doing right now? How are they getting paid? And then from that little seed of an idea started to spread and expand. With the team internally, it was a constant like why are we not able to sell into gyms? And then out of that dovetailed AtomPay, which was more of a focus on like, what is the biggest pain point of most personal trainers? It's actually just getting paid. It's getting the money, whether or not you're an Instagram influencer and you're DMing with someone else in another part of the country and they want to buy your 7-week meal plan or something, 7-day meal plan. Then it's just getting paid. And then there's this whole back and forth conversation about, well, how are you going to pay me? PayPal, Venmo me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so out of that came AtomPay, which is the way to kind of help facilitate a very quick and rapid. Here's my storefront. You can pick which item you want, and the transaction will be complete. The other thing too, just to note on this, is we didn't want to take a cut. Right? There are a lot of other there are other applications out there that will take a cut. So they'll take 10%. Upwork is an example of this, or and it's a grade, it's a scale, right? But we didn't want to take a cut because that just didn't seem right. Here are people struggling, and so we looked at other ways of how to create a real business through subscription fees instead of taking a cut. So make as much as you want. $10 or $100,000, right? We're not going to take a cut of any of it. And that was the other core of like how AtomPay came to be.
That is super cool. I'm seeing a switch from that model of that percentage model to kind of the flat fee subscription model that you guys are moving to. Like people are waking up to be like, this is a little predatory. And so it's really cool
Yes.
that you guys adopted that model.
Yeah.
There was one question in there that I wanted to ask and I lost it at some point along the way. You were talking about, I want to get an understanding of your team. Are you guys completely distributed across the States or with overseas? Or are you guys?
So the way that I work on AtomPay right now is we I have a consulting company, right? So I run a consulting company, so I know what it's like to be the freelancers out there. Bohemian Innovation is my consulting company, and I have a team that operates, and we build out technology all day long for our clients. Just to plug here, we always need design help. We always need great marketers. So even if you don't think AtomPay is your thing, please still there's just so much opportunity out there. Um, so AtomPay itself doesn't have anyone working under it at this point. It's independent. So um, if there are services or things that we do, I run it through Bohemian at this point, just because right now, still getting to a point of profitability, enough volume. That's still it's still very, very early stage at this point, and getting to, as you know, startups are a little bit finicky sometimes.
So it's cool. I mean, reading between the lines there, it sounds like a really cool. If I'm a side hustler, I'm getting this newsletter, I'm going to the website and I'm seeing AtomPay. It's really neat because actually the partnership, it can start as big or small as you guys, whatever you guys agree on. It sounds like there's a lot of
Yes.
opportunity for people to
Yeah.
craft and kind of carve their value into what AtomPay is trying to do.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what we do. It's all contract. Even the team, the a lot of the team and the contractors, everyone was contracting to start and from the very, very beginning, just until we got to a point where, hey, we have some scale here. We can really bring people on and hire people full time. But yeah.
So I remember my question from earlier, and buckle in because it's going to be a weird one, but I'm taking it from your website. So I saw the word manifest on the website, and that got me thinking about a slew of things. But you have this really powerful drive energy. Like you're just a very driven person. And obviously, I think career wise, it's like coming from the business side and the engineering side. A lot of people don't do both well.
Mhm.
So to do both, and just I'm using the website as an example in this conversation. I mean, you're just so fluid and it's like snap, snap, snap. You're
Yeah.
very there. Talk to me about what motivates and drives you.
Curiosity. I'm a very curious person. There's so much out there in the world that we don't know. And I lead with curiosity, and sometimes that gets me in trouble. I want to know so many things, and I want to explore so many. I'm a serial entrepreneur. We're going to talk again, I'm sure, about something else. But um, curiosity, the drive to want to learn. And then always I look at so much of what's in front of me or a situation, a problem. It's stepping back and saying, what don't I know about this? And then changing perspective that can change so much of how we view what's in front of us. And um, I feel like that's the biggest driver. There's always more to learn, expand, and that goes for work, relationships, everything. It's about staying curious about yourself too. Yeah.
The the other question I had was a kind of I you just seem like a person that's had a wealth of experience, and there's so many questions I want to ask you. Certainly not enough to fit into one episode of this, but if you could, talking about your serial entrepreneur background, can you talk to us about some of the top lessons that you've maybe learned? I mean, I spent 3 years building this employee engagement app, and we built it in 2017. Fast forward to 2020, we had failed, whatever. Um, and I get all these people like, hey, do you still have the code base? Are you still doing this employee engagement thing? Because we have remote employees and it's a shit show and we really could
Yeah.
use your help.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about some of those lessons that you've learned, maybe the hard way, but that I know they're in there and I'd love to share them with our audience.
Many hard lessons. But lesson number one is don't quit, internalize your grit. But so the biggest the biggest thing that I like to stress, especially even from my own personal experience as well as from a consultative perspective, I tell my clients this all the time. Um, Gene, is one of those people, right? So uh, it's constantly to check your assumptions, right, from the beginning. And then also it's just there's a lot more on the research side. So by assumptions, I mean we can lead ourselves to believe almost anything
Mhm.
that we want. People want this. People want this. And you may talk to a few people. We have confirmation bias so much within our research, even. So, the biggest part is like making sure that you're really truly pre-selling what it is that you're building, and then before that, it's even like evaluating the problem that you're trying to solve, right? And I think those are things too where sometimes we skip over those so quickly as product people, um, and that'll get us into trouble very quickly, right? At a certain point, you do have to try, right? You need to get to those failures very quickly, um, but more and more often than not, it's we're missing some part of that piece at the very beginning, and that derails everything. As you're moving down. So, AtomPay was a 7-day iteration. It was if we can't build it in a week, it's too complicated, right? If I can't build something in a week, I'm working on a project right now where I'll be able to build a full stack system in a week, right? And that that goes with saying that we spent the greater part of 2 years building Atom Complete, the gym software that was so complicated but didn't have a customer at the end of the day. I mean, we know that people want this, but do we really? I, you know that, and the question there is to that's the lesson there is really evaluate like the basics. But and I'm stressing this again because we miss this more often than not. And because we miss this, we don't end up having a customer at the end of the day. We're not executing on the business and the product. We can execute all day long on engineering, but if we're not executing on the real product needs, then we're going to miss the boat, right? We're not going to make it. And I think that with strong product decisions at the beginning, you can go further. It doesn't guarantee success, right? And then I think another learning is also just from the the business partnership, right? Don't put your own money in, okay? Don't spend your own money if you can't convince somebody, if you need to raise money and you can't do it yourself. And if you can't convince an investor or someone else to come in, don't spend your savings. Don't, building businesses, it's very difficult. It takes a lot of time. You need a lot of runway. Don't burn your own capital, and find great partners, right? So at the end of the day, um, you know, you think, oh, if I just spend this, I can get it back. Don't do that. Okay. That's if I can tell anyone don't spend your own money. Go raise if you need to raise. If you can't build it yourself with you and your co-founders, with just equity at play. But definitely do not spend your own money.
If
Period.
you build it, they won't necessarily come. So
Exactly. So making sure you have like a strong founding team that you're all working together. You're not paying each other to do the work, right? Because once that happens, if you're pulling money out of your own savings account, you more than likely cannot afford it. And it's even if it doesn't matter where you're at on your journey, don't spend your own money because just by the very fact that you can't build it yourself and you're making a lot of assumptions about you're going to get that money back. Unless you're okay throwing that money away, then okay, that's fine. But more likely than not, most people don't have money to throw away.
So talk to us about, so I would put myself in this camp. Everything I've done is bootstrap. Like I've worked for companies that used VC. And I think a lot of times companies that pull venture capital end up kind of going off the rails a little bit because they spend so
Yeah.
much time building PowerPoints and slide decks and like
Yeah.
features for investors that like are so far away from their user base. Talk to us about some of the creative ways. Number one, I want to talk about validation because you kind of
Yeah.
touched on that earlier. Some of your methods for validation, but even before validation, if you're not using your own money in this kind of economy, in this market, how do you have any ideas for how people can go and get some capital, just a small amount of capital, staying lean, any of those things?
Yes. So I'm not encouraging going to get capital. Let me rephrase. I'm just saying don't spend your own capital. So if your founding team can't build the product, then you might be in a little bit of trouble and you
Mm.
probably need to evaluate the direction that you're going, right? Because if you do need an engineer or something, then you need capital, you need buy-in from, you need a pillar that needs to fill that void in space. So I'm not encouraging or advocating for going to raise capital. That is its own slippery slope. But I do think that um, just don't spend your own money. You should be able to build it together as a team without having to raise money either. And how do you do that? Well, you most likely, it needs to be your side hustle and you need to have revenue coming in from other ways. And one of those can be consulting, freelancing, and then as well as just having your full-time job. And hopefully you're not working somewhere where they don't allow moonlighting, right? Um, so I think I answered that part of the question, right? The
Validation. Let's talk
val-
about some of your validation methods
the
because I think
product
that's
validation, yeah. So from a product validation standpoint, I guess what specific parts of that the long road to PMF?
so no. The way that it came up in my mind was we're
Mhm.
talking about AtomPay starting out as this gym product, right? And
Yes,
I know you like in this 20 minutes, like I know you, like I've known you forever in some ways,
yeah,
and I know that you guys definitely validated that product. I think some of the economic factors hitting gyms obviously contributed to why maybe the pivot was there. But can you talk about some of the methods that you use, maybe specifically with AtomPay and this pre-gym thing of how you guys went through validation, and how you would recommend people try?
So, so a lot of this, we did a lot of validation around like looking at mind body when we were developing the concept of Atom Complete, the gym software, right? And so there was, me along with this partner at the time, Clemens, we were very intense in this space of like, okay, going through the full requirements of like what our gym, talking to a lot of gym owners at the time. Um, and a lot of that research was leading us, or at least we led ourselves, right? That, oh, we will find, these, when we build this, they will use it, right? No, not necessarily, right? If existing users that already use other software, um, are telling you that they're going to use your software when it's ready, that's not necessarily true. It's a fallacy in many different levels. So fast forward there, we weren't able to actually pull in all of those people that we were talking to because they were on legacy systems. So fast forward to AtomPay, a lot of the research there is literally working with an agency to go and find us specifically in a Gen Z vertical, personal trainers that charge for their services, right? And we wanted to know like what was preventing, like what were their pain points, and not leading them in any direction. It was a blank canvas about what are pain points in running your business as a personal trainer. And so you can scratch that and say, what are pain points in executing your HR employee benefits platform, right? And so you're talking, we zeroed in on a very specific group. We worked with an outside agency that we paid, right, to go through these very long interviews, right? And we're talking 30 minutes about for the interview, and then as a as an output of that, it was very refined, very thoughtful questioning around what it is and how they operate. And then from there, recognizing some patterns in some of the problem sets that were occurring. And out of that came what was kind of like this aha, like there's this overlap of why or what that primary pain point was. And it was just about following from the first DM or the first like interaction point of with a customer, right? So the other pain point actually, before you even get to the money, if you're curious, is we just need more clients, right? So that's a big problem there,
It's a
right?
consistent problem with every company, I think.
Exactly. So then after you have a client, then this was the next. This was the more I would say this is the problem pain point that we pursued.
I wish we had so much more time. I would ask about pivoting. I would ask about a bunch of different things you've been through, but we're right at the end for this session. I think maybe in the future we can do something different. Maybe we can do one on what's your agency's name?
Well, one on Bohemian Innovation, which Bohemian for short. I love building products. It's keeps me up. Very excited about what's ahead of us as well. Always looking for product and design help. And I would love to talk to you about Bohemian and how that came to be, as well as some of our other projects. We treat it almost like a venture lab at this point. And so we have a number of new projects that are out in the world. And so that have nothing to do with payments or freelancers. But
Brilliant. Yeah. Anyone that's listening, I mean, I think you'd be crazy to pass up an opportunity, even just to be an unpaid intern to help out and whatever, just to learn from you and the team, I think is a missed opportunity. If I could talk to my 16, 18-year-old self and be like, hey, go there and apply, like there's so much to learn from someone like you.
you're very, very, very kind. And please, the biggest thing too is even if there isn't something near term, I'm all about building relationships and establishing what those relationships start to look like. And I love starting on small projects and then iterating from there. But please apply and let me know. And I'm very open in terms of uh, uh, what opportunity will exist. And yeah.
So tell us where we can find AtomPay. And with that, I think I'm pretty wrapped on questions. And if there's anything else you want to mention about AtomPay and where can people find the product?
Yes. So AtomPay is available at www.atompay.me. And it's also available on iOS for now. And you can reach out to me personally as well on Bohemian's website.
Perfect. Lynette, thank you so much for making the time to be here. It was such an absolute pleasure to learn from you and to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Perry, for having me, hosting me. And I'm looking forward to our next session too. So you let me
Perfect.
know. Thank you.
Thank you.